This is for the men who are tired of pretending that they're okay. For the man carrying pressure, responsibility, doubt, and expectation, and still showing up every single day. This is a space where strength means honesty, where growth comes from trust, and where becoming a better man starts from the inside out. Welcome to the Positive Man Show. Real conversations, real struggles, real growth. Because a positive man isn't a perfect man. He's a man who's willing to do the work. Let's grow. Let's heal. Let's lead. This is the Positive Man Show.
Welcome. I'm Blackhawk, observing what most don't see and trusting what can't always be explained.
And I'm Dr. Coffee Cup Chuck, and what a beautiful time it is to be alive.
Welcome to the Positive Man Show.
What's up, bro?
Doing good. How you doing?
And I just want to say, man, I'm glad you're here. This is our third pilot episode. We're taking off and we're moving on into our actual season, which will be 20
part series.
Yeah, we got 20 episodes coming. They're all going to be good ones. Today, we are going to be talking about what drives a man to become what he wants to become, what pushes men towards excellence, their purpose, and what keeps them consistent in what they do. And I'm going to start off with a quote. And that quote is, "The power of being driven." It goes like this: "Excellence is not a similar act, but a habit. You are what you repeatedly do." And that is a quote by Aristotle.
Drive isn't about hype or motivation. It's about what pulls you forward when no one else is watching. Today, we're talking about what truly drives men to excellence and what happens when that drive gets misplaced or neglected.
Basically, what Aristotle was speaking about is excellence. He wasn't talking about talent or luck. He was basically talking about the patterns that men process through. And today we're going to be talking about 5 subjects that are tied around the drive that drives men to do the things that they do in their life. What is pushing some of these men to their greatness, and what you could possibly do to get yourself out of the slump that you might be in that might be stopping you from reaching your greatness. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is men are driven by purpose, not by praise. And we were talking about this earlier, me and Blackhawk, about how men are driven more by purpose and boys are more subjected to be driven by praise. When I was a young dude, I wanted all the gear. It was always about shoes. It was always about that car. My car had to have rims on it. It had to have tinted windows. It had to have a beating system in it. And when I stepped out of that car, I had to have gear. I had to look nice. And all because of who? Was it because it made me feel good? Yeah. But what made me really feel better was the praise I got from the things that they seen me with. You know, that praise you get for the appearance of being something bigger. That's what I was seeking when I was younger. Now, I have more responsibility, and as a man, I started understanding I had to transition from the applause of other people to the applause of my family. So my family started giving me that purpose. That's the first section I want to go over, and I want to talk about some of the things that drive men.
I think a couple of them right off the back is responsibility. You want to be a responsible, grown person is one. Another one is providing. You want to be that provider, right?
Do you have problems going on in your family?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just knowing and understanding that you have to be the person in your family that's the strong one.
Just recently, we went to the BTBY up in Omaha experience. If you guys haven't experienced BTBY yet, go check them out. ComeChangeYourLife.com. Shout out to Brenda Ringwood, Dr. Ruben West, Terrence Unstoppable Leffridge. It was a small, intimate group of people, not only speakers, but attendees. We had a fantastic time, right? But on the way back, me and my wife, we had a real raw conversation that we're still processing. Just with your spouse, you're not going to see eye to eye sometimes.
No.
It's not going to happen. But it's like that hunger, that drive, you want to be better. Because, it's like, I don't want to be with somebody else. My wife doesn't want to be with somebody else. So it's like, let's make this work. let's master that craft. I remember our mom, we caught buses a lot in Orlando. You know, we lived in the city and stuff in Florida. So like for us, we was always mesmerized by, like, we'd walk by these buildings, and especially back in the 80s, it was either taekwondo or karate. So as a small kid, you envision yourself learning how to train to do kung fu or karate or anything like that. And of course, Bruce Lee movies and karate kung fu movies was huge back then and even before then, you know. But how do you get a black belt? You have to master that craft, just like anything. We look at these different movies or characters, and it's like they have to master their craft. I don't mean they're mastering all crafts, just that craft. That's a conversation that my wife and I had coming back from Omaha. Like, we have to master this. And not just for us, but for the family, because like so many people in our family depends on us. And it's like, if we're the weak link, who else is going to be able to count on us? But that's the raw, necessary talks you have to have with one another. I reached out to our oldest son. He's going through a lot of stuff right now. He turns 30 this year. When he was real little, we was best buds. Then he hit teenage age. His biological dad came back in the picture. Stuff started changing, right? And so, like, we didn't see eye to eye. And there was times where my wife and I, we made the decision, hey, you're going to go live with your biological dad. But, you know, I sent him a message other than my siblings and like my real close friends I look at as my family, because I've known them for 30 years. And I'm like, hey, if I ever let you down or disappointed you, I'm sorry. And so that's like the realness. That's the spark that going to the BTBY event, that it sparked the hard conversations like we spoke about in previous shows. I looked at it like, that's me mastering my craft, me mastering to become a better person. If that's a husband, if that's a brother, if that's a father, because there's times where me and my oldest son, we wouldn't talk. Yeah. We'd be in the same room. We wouldn't even say a word. Mm-hmm. And that would tear me up, because I'm like, man, I really care about this. I love this dude.
Yeah. You raised him. You put.
Yeah. I've known him since he was 4 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard conversations where he would tell other people like, yeah, Dave don't like me. And I'm just like, damn, dude, like that hurts.
Yeah, it's not true.
And it's not true. Without telling them, you know, I take a bullet for him straight up. It's just like we couldn't, for whatever reason, we couldn't have that conversation.
It's hard. It's what keeps driving your purpose. You
know?
It
does. You know, I told Izzy not too long ago, within the last year, you know, people's like, man, why do you do what you do? And stuff like that. I heard certain things, you know, for different people, meaning like with my family, or there's people I don't even know or maybe slightly know. And I was like, you know what? This is what drives me. I want to be that person. I want to be that guy that I could call upon when I need them. Not because there's strings attached, not because I have some expectations I'm getting something out of it, just because you want to be a stand-up person, right? You want to be a man that people looks up at and is like, okay, man, if I call Dave, if it's in his power, he's going to be there. No questions asked. No strings attached. Because there's been times throughout the years where I've been let down. I've been disappointed. It's going to happen. But if I could help it and I could make somebody's day better than what they anticipate or they expect, then yeah, I'm going to be that guy.
And you always have been, man. So today we have been talking about what drives man to their greatness. What is it that drives man? And one of the things we've been talking about is purpose. Men are driven by purpose. Most men, they don't wake up chasing applause. They wake up chasing a purpose, something that drives them, like family, like careers, like something that will benefit them in some sort of way in the future. And a lot of the people don't understand a lot of the responsibilities that men go through as far as providing. When I say we're not driven by praise, we're driven by purpose. For instance, Mother's Day. You got Mother's Day, you got Father's Day. They both represent parents, but when you think about it, Mother's Day, there's a bunch of flowers given. I mean, everyone goes over and beyond for their mom.
All out.
Everyone, I mean, moms like dinners and flowers and Mother's Day is a great day because we all have moms. Without a mom, you wouldn't be here, right? Okay, but now Mother's Day is come and gone, and then you have Father's Day pop up. What's the besides that hug you get from your children and that, feeling of love you get from your spouse, what do the average father really get for Father's Day? You know what I'm saying?
If you're fortunate, you get a cooked meal.
Yeah.
You might get taken out and stuff, for lunch or whatever. But typically it's a tie. You get like a pair of socks and a tie, a matching tie or something.
But and excuse me, but we're good with that.
Yeah, guys are pretty basic for the most part.
But that's the point. The purpose, we don't spend a lot of our time worrying about that stuff. I don't care about Christmas and gifts and all of that. I'm more worried about what I'm giving everyone else. I want to make sure I land it for the kids, or I land it for my wife, or I land it for somebody else, because the purpose behind a driven man isn't what he's receiving from everybody else. It's what he's receiving by what's driving his purpose.
For me, you like seeing all the smiles and the that being a provider, what it does, right? Hey, these people are okay because I'm part of their life, and that's the great reward, not all the praise. Because, oh man, yeah, you're a hard worker. Hey, thanks for working 40 to 60 hours a week, and that's not what you're looking for. The reassurance for men, that's enough praise right there, making sure, hey, my family's okay.
When a man knows why he's doing something, he'll do whatever he got to do. Without purpose, drive fades. With purpose, discipline grows. If you're a man out there right now and you're allowing praise to drive you through your day every day, you might want to look into finding out what that purpose of yours is, because a purpose will take you a whole lot farther than praise. When praise isn't there, when you don't have them people clapping for you, when you don't have somebody standing around pushing you on, how far are you going? What's leading you into your greatness? Is it a family? Like I said, is it a career? For me, it's first God, my family, and then my career. Down in the chat, going ahead and write, what is it that drives you and keeps you driven in your life towards your purpose? That brings us to the second subject on this, and that's drive comes from alignment, not pressure. External pressures create burnout. Internal alignment creates excellence.
Men excel when their actions match their values. Their work reflects their identity. Their habits support their future.
So their actions match their values.
Is both of your tongues matching? Are you talking to talk, or are you just walking?
If you have a standard, and that standard is, my kids are going to grow up, attend college, graduate, and when they walk away from college, they're not just going to walk away from college working for somebody else. They're going to walk away with the knowledge to start and run their own operation, their own business, enterprise, or whatever that is. Okay, that is the value. But guess what? If you want your children to grow up and go to college and graduate college and start that business that they're starting, you're probably going to have to show them. You're going to have to lead by example. So that means you might have to take some courses yourself. You might have to start that business. You might have to get out there and grind and let them see for themselves what they should be doing. And that is how you put actions behind your values. Work reflects identity. The work that you're putting in is going to reflect the identity that you want everybody else to see, because drive shouldn't be a forced thing.
Right.
You shouldn't have to force drive. Drive should be something that is built into you automatically.
That means drive comes from alignment, not pressure. It's like, like if you work for somebody or at a job, they're like, oh, you better make sure you do a good job. Like they're trying to coach you on, but you should want to do a good job anyway, right?
Yeah.
On your own, even when nobody's not watching.
Yeah, so what are you doing when no one else is looking, basically?
Yeah, you want to stay in integrity.
Number 3, undirected drive turns into frustration. Many men are driven but not aimed. That leads to overworking, working without fulfillment, chasing money without meaning, success without peace. Drive needs direction or it becomes self-destructive. So basically, if you got all this drive, man, you got all this energy, but you don't know where you want to put it, you're probably going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
I was putting all of it into my business and not enough of it into my family. So my family started suffering because of it.
Right.
So you gotta understand, you can't put all your drive into one thing and forget about everything else. Those areas that you're forgetting about, that you're not putting any extra drive into, they're going to suffer too.
They will
So
suffer. Yeah. You got to have that work-life balance. What does that even mean? For the first 16 years of my driving experience, I worked 60 to 70 hours a week. So I go to work when everybody's sleeping. It's dark. I come home when it's dark. Like, what does that even look like? Work-life balance. Like that never, it never compute. You know, I was like, no Nintendo, until I started working at a municipality that I'm at now. And it's like, I went from working 60 to 70 hours a week to working a straight 40. And so like, I had to get through that process, because I'm like, man, I'm used to making this much money, being fulfilled and being purposeful and driven. Am I letting my family down now because I'm not making that dollar amount that I used to? No. Well, guess what? It went from me working so much and I'd come home, my wife would be sleeping or the kids would be sleeping, even though they was older teenagers. The next thing you know, I'm at home. I didn't have to be to work to 8 o'clock, versus where I'm getting up at 2 and in the morning and have to be to work at 3 or 3:30 in the morning and working 12 to 14 hours that day, to working not even 8 hours and sitting in bed drinking coffee with my wife, watching the news or just talking. Like, that was a huge blessing. But that drove me for that 16 years to where, when I did take that leap of I'm doing the same job, but not as much, it made me grateful for the experience I did have, because now I could actually sit back and appreciate it, because I don't have to work that hard no more.
yeah, it definitely makes a difference when you understand where you put in your drive, what direction it's going in, because sometimes we lose focus, and a lot of people lose their families because of it. You get so indulged in one direction, you forget that your life isn't built just for one direction.
Yeah, you can't be one dimensional.
Yeah. So you'd have to have drive, but at the same time, that drive needs to have a direction. The next one we got is excellence is built quietly. The habits no one sees, like those early mornings, those hard conversations that you might have with your kids or your spouse or a close family member or friend, consistent follow-throughs. Sometimes we fall short of what we say we're going to do, and things just don't work out when that happens. Choosing growth over comfort. That's where excellence is actually forged. So I want to hit on those early mornings. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of things that you do, people don't see it. You see it. They see Coffee Cup Chuck, and they don't see the mornings that Coffee Cup Chuck wakes up and all of the research that goes into writing a lot of the things that I write. I write a lot of stuff, and in the process of doing it, you have to study, you have to do a lot of research, and it takes time to do that stuff. So it's a lot of early mornings involved in that. When a man has to get up and go to work and work to pay his bills, a lot of people don't understand that he might have to get up early in the morning just to get in the shower, early in the morning, because that hour to work is an hour and a half drive. What stage are you setting every day when you start your day? Are you getting up early enough to get some extra stuff in so you can have a more fulfilling day? Or are you waking up at the last minute and rushing up out of the door? A lot of people don't see what you do in silence. I'm going to give you an example. I've been publicly speaking since 2022 when I met all you guys.
Right.
And
the second time, not the first time.
And in the process of doing that, I wanted to be a speaker. And I want to make money speaking. They say it's a lot of money in speaking. So I wanted to not only be a speaker to help influence people and motivate people, but also a lifestyle, something that could help me support myself as well. You go your first year speaking and there's no money made. Then you go your second year, you're still speaking, you're still doing it, you're going to the conferences, you're making yourself present and everything, but you're still not making any money. The whole while, your spouses, your friends, and your family saying you're wasting your time and what you're doing because it's not producing money. It's not producing anything of value in their eyes. Next thing you know, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years later, after doing it constantly, you turn into a $20,000, $30,000 speaker. People don't see what you go through when you're building it silently. They want quick results. They want everything right away.
Instant gratification.
And yeah, instant. And it doesn't happen like that. You have to stay driven through the silence, through those moments when no one sees what you're going through. You gotta find a way to keep yourself going. You gotta find a way to keep yourself driven, because a lot of the things we do is in silence. A lot of that stuff. Another thing, consistent follow through. And the only reason why I skipped to that one past the hard conversations, because we all know about hard conversations, but the follow through. You say you're going to do it. Are you really doing it? It's easy to say what somebody's going to do, but it's a whole lot harder to actually do it. You got to be willing to follow through with what you say. Choosing growth over comfort. How many times have you been in a situation where it was either comfort or growth? And how many times have you picked the comfort over the growth?
Yeah.
We're all guilty.
Comfort's the easy road.
You get sick and tired of sitting there, you do what? You normally get up and move. Be comfortable all you want. Number 5, what man can take away from this whole driven thing? When you have a clear vision of where you want to be, it's easier to make it to where you want to go.
Yeah.
When things are clear and you can see what's in front of you, it's easier to move a little faster. But when you unclear, it's easy to, at the last minute, think, oh, I missed a turn. Darn it. It's always good to have a clear vision. Habits shape your outcomes too. You got to remember the things that you're doing on a daily basis, what you're using to keep you driven. If you're continuously using that same thing to keep you driven, to keep you moving, it's going to eventually turn into a habit that's going to keep you driven and keep you moving. So just make sure that your habits, the habits that you're forming for yourself, are helping shape some of the outcomes that you're looking for. Also remember, consistency beats intensity. You can be as intense as you want. You can have something all the way down pat, but if you don't keep doing it, it doesn't matter. It's not easy for me to get up every day and put out content. It's not easy to do. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of creativity, a lot of, like I said earlier, research. And the big difference is going to be how consistent you are with what you do. I'm pretty consistent. Now, do I slip up sometimes and I miss a day here or there? Yeah, because life happens. All in all, you got to stay consistent with anything you do. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Just get the ball rolling, get your drive going, and then you'll catch on and things will get a little easier. Shout out to our sponsors, the Fun Hut KC, Kansas City's go-to source for inflatables, games, and event rentals. Spring and summer are booking fast, and here's the truth. The best dates go early. Whether you're planning a birthday party, a school event, a church function, or a community celebration, the Fun Hut KC has you covered. So head on over to www.funhutkc.com and lock in your dates now, because memories don't wait and availability, it doesn't either. Book early, stress less, have more fun. Fun Hut KC, everything fun under the sun. All right, and that brings us to our topic, what drives man's excellence? So we got a couple of suggested points. One is purpose versus ego-driven motivation. Discipline as self-respect, why habits outlast motivation. And drive as a responsibility, not a feeling. Purpose versus ego-driven motivation. First of all, what do you think the difference between purpose and ego-driven means?
Well, for me, purpose is like, well, I'll go to the second part. Ego-driven motivation is like, okay, am I going to get something out of it? It's all about me. A purpose is like being meaningful, not just it's all about me, especially if you work with coworkers or a team. It's about the team.
Yeah. Ego-driven is more me.
Yeah, individual.
Purpose is involving others. Ego is involving self. I think to a certain extent, though, you would have to have some sort of ego-driven motivation to pump you up, so to speak. Reason why I say that ego-driven motivation, meaning more as a self-motivation, to motivate yourself, but I don't think you should hold on to it for too long. Maybe use it as a force to build up your belief in yourself. I have a purpose. I have several purposes, and I know what those purposes mean to me. And I do know in some situations, I do add a little ego in there because I think that's just a man thing. But I still don't think that the ego part is safe to indulge in too much.
Right.
You got to have a purpose. And I don't know what that purpose is or what that purpose looks like to you, but you got to have some sort of purpose that's driving you, which leads me to the next thing. What's going to drive a man to excellence is not just going to be understanding and controlling his purpose over that ego that he has. He's also going to have some sort of discipline and self-respect. Self-respect is a big one. If you don't respect the power that you have within yourself, you ain't going to believe in yourself to understand how much power you really have in yourself.
You got to believe in yourself first before anybody else does, right?
Yep. You definitely do. Why habits outlast motivation? Tony Dungy.
He coached for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's it. Tampa Bucks. He tried to win Super Bowl a couple of times. He kept failing.
Yeah.
And then he went up to the Colts.
Yep, Indianapolis.
And when he got up to Indianapolis, I know
they would make it to the playoffs, that's for sure.
Yeah, they would make it, and they would screw up. Well, he brought in a trainer. He basically, instead of teaching the football players to act off thought, instead of training them these lines, he wanted them to act off of habit. So when they would train habitually, not to think. He didn't teach them to think. He trained them to act off of habit.
To react, yeah.
Because every time they got to the big game, their emotions and feelings would get involved.
They would overthink it.
And they would think.
Yeah.
And emotions are tied more into the way you think. And instead of your reaction tying in more into your habits. So he taught them to act on habit. And because of him teaching them to actually off of his habit, everything they did was automatic. Right. And they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year.
I remember when I first got into the solid waste business, probably about my first year and a half in, I remember I'd work 60 hours a week. And that was just like Monday through Friday. And I remember it got to the point where like Friday would roll around, Thursday, my Monday was long, my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was long. Come Friday, I was like, man, I need a break. I only want to work like a half a day. Well, guess what? I was getting off at 3 and 4 o'clock with my route. And in the solid waste business, you don't get done until you're done with your route. So if that's in a half a day, or if it depending on the size of the route, and they don't ask you to help another driver or go help on another route, you're out there all day. And so I remember in particular, the route I was on, I wouldn't get done with my route till like between 3 and 3:30. The transfer station closed at 4. So you had to be done by 4. If not, you had to go dump and you had to go finish your route. Right. And so it got to the point where there was no breaks or anything. And so I was like, 2 things is going to happen. I was like, I'm either going to get done or I'm going to pass out trying. I drove myself to put in that extra effort. Work a little harder, walk faster, pick up the trash a lot faster. And it's just that consistency, right? And so next thing you know, it took about a week or 2. Next thing you know, I hit my goal, 2:30. So I'm like, okay, but I wasn't happy with that. And I was like, okay, I want to get done at 2. Next week, 2 weeks, getting done at 2. I was like, I'm not happy with it. And it kept on, the time kept moving up closer and closer to noon. And so finally got to the point where I'm like 4 months in, 5 months in, I'm getting done at 1. I'm still not happy, right? And so I just keep pushing myself. Next thing you know, I get done and I'm like, I wouldn't say passing out, but I'm like breathing hard. I'm panting. I'm pushing myself like I've never pushed myself before. Next thing you know, I'm getting done 12:15, 12:30, 12 o'clock. And so it got to the point to where that consistency where I'd start at 6, 6:30, I'm getting the route done by noon. That was a big accomplishment because I never pushed myself like that before at any other job. And that doesn't mean like I was winning like employee of the month or I was getting a bonus or I was getting extra. any extra money for pushing myself that hard. But the management, they started seeing me become not just a regular driver, but becoming an elite driver, one of the top drivers there at the shop. That was my motivation, not because I wanted to pat on the back, but I was like, I'm tired of working all these hours. Sometimes when I was done, I got to go home if everything was good. And sometimes I had to go help. So it just depended on the day and what the week looked like. And the reason I share that story, because I want to encourage people, don't settle for just the average. Push yourself, find your purpose, find your drive. Because if I could do it, you guys could do it also.
All it takes, start small, little small steps. Like you said, you started getting done half an hour earlier, and then it worked all the way to where you were getting done 12 o'clock.
Yeah. The funny part to that story is I started getting done so early on Friday. I would get to this gas station. It was called, what was it? It was like a little taco place. It was like Taco Casa or some little taco place in the gas station. And I would get there around 11. And so I'm like, man, once I get to this point, I got like 30 minutes left on the route. So you know what? I'm going to enjoy it. It's Friday. I got paid today. I'm going to take a little lunch break. So on Fridays, I wouldn't take my lunch. And so I would kind of treat myself on Fridays on payday, and I'd stop and get me some tacos or some burritos or whatever for my little treat for busting my butt and working so hard.
Well, we got 2 questions for the audience that we want you guys to reflect on. What are you driving towards, and why are you driving towards it? What's the fuel in the tank that's pushing you in that direction? And number 2, are the daily habits that you are exercising on a daily basis, are the habits that you are creating for yourself right now pushing you and supporting the person that you are trying to become as a man? Write those down in the chat, and while you guys are writing that down, we're going to take another shout out. This shout out is for the ACA. If you're driven but tired of networking rooms that feel forced, listen up. The ACA Business Club is where real conversations happen. This isn't about business cards or fake handshakes. It's about casual connections, actual relationships, authentic, growth-minded people. If you're looking for a place to build professionally without losing yourself, ACA is the place. Come as you are, grow as you go. All right, so we're about to highlight our book.
So the book's called Driven. Confronts a powerful truth. The forces that shape us are often deeper than we realize, and understanding them is the first step toward reclaiming control. Douglas Brackman dives into systems, struggles, and hidden influences that impact identity, opportunity, and personal trajectory. This isn't just history, it's a mirror. For men, the book hits hard because it challenges us to ask, what's really driving me? Is it purpose or pressure? Conviction or conditioning? Brackman shows that when you understand the forces that shaped your past, you gain power over your future. You can't change what you don't confront. You can't grow beyond what you don't understand. Driven pushes men to move beyond surface level motivation and into deeper awareness, because real strength comes from clarity. This isn't about blame, it's about ownership. It's about recognizing the systems around you without letting them define you. If you want depth instead of hype, if you want awareness instead of autopilot, if you want to move from reaction to intention, Driven is essential reading. And yes, it's also available in audio format.
Which means you can go to audible.com and pick up that book, man. Audible.com. And you know what we say about audible.com? If you don't like or have time reading regular books, you can always get it on Audible. But it's also in many of the bookstores, Amazon, Borders Books. Just take your pick and choose your poison. All right, so our ask for this week is for all of you listeners out there. We want you to take 10 minutes this week to identify one belief, behavior, or some sort of pattern in your life and ask yourself, who or what originally drove this? Awareness is the first step towards intentional living. So take 10 minutes, just 10 minutes out of your week, and try to identify what belief, behavior, or patterns in your life that you use that help shape you. I remember when I was released from Fort Dix, New Jersey federal prison. The day I was released, there's a process. You have all your stuff ready to go, and they put you in a holding cell They take all of your items and put them in another room. You go in this holding cell and they change you out into clothes that family members mailed you. They came in the room and brought this box in of the clothes that my brother mailed to me. And I took all of the clothes off that they had for me and I put on those clothes. And then they move you from that chamber on the locked up side of the prison over to a non-locked up chamber where the door is actually unlocked, but you're still in there waiting for the process. So now they had me booked out, and I was waiting on the sheriff to come pick me up because that sheriff was supposed to drive me from the prison to the Greyhound bus station. So I remember going through this process, walking out those doors, getting in that police car, knowing that this police officer is about to drive me away from this jail. And I got in that car and I sat in the back seat and I watched as I drove through this army base. It was Fort Dix Army Base, yeah. So I basically drove through this army base, through the front gates, and as I'm driving through the front gate, I'm free. I just drove out into the free world in a police car. This police car drove me to the Greyhound bus station. I got out of this cruiser and watched this cruiser drive away. And I stood there looking at freedom. I literally stood there like, what's next? What is about to happen with your life? And I sat there for about 2.5, 3 hours waiting on the Greyhound bus to get there. And the whole time I sat there, all I could think about was what I was going to do with my life. Something had to drive me. And the only thing that I had was my son. That was it.
How old was he at that time?
13. He was still a teenager because he was starting to go through all of his rough patches. But I said, I've been absent. And the whole time I drove on that Greyhound driving towards Nebraska, all I could think of is everything that I was absent for. And if I was going to make this kid my purpose to continue to drive me, I knew I had to figure out the relationship. So the whole time I'm driving, I'm like, man, I got to think of how I can build this relationship because it's going to be very important as far as this purpose that I'm driving. I don't want to go back to jail. I didn't want to go back to prison. So I used him as a push.
That was your why.
That was one of the biggest reasons why I knew I couldn't come back to prison and I had to do something with my life that would put me in a better position to do that. So I had already knew that he was my drive. And with that being said, the first thing I wanted to do with myself is get myself in school. That led to other things. So it started out as my son being my purpose. And now it's not just my son, it's my family. It's a whole lot more. That one little small purpose can really ignite and drive something totally bigger than what it started out to be. But you got to at least ground yourself to something that'll get you going. What is that purpose? We got another sponsor shout out. Becoming a Better You. Becoming a Better You isn't about fixing what's broken, people. It's about strengthening what fear tried to weaken. In 2026, Becoming a Better You is going universal, helping men know they don't have to do life alone. If you're tired of surviving and ready to start living with purpose and power, this is a movement for you. Visit www.comechangeyourlife.com to see where the train is headed to next. Growth is calling. The only question is, do you answer?
And before we go, we'd like to give a special shout out to Shelly, making our Positive Man Show merch.
Yeah, it's coming, y'all.
We got C3 over here, got Black Hawk over here.
Yeah, she did a good job, y'all.
Thanks again, Shelly. We appreciate it.
Definitely got to get a shout out to our merch hookup.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Now, it'll be coming soon, man. We haven't got that stuff online yet, but we're working on it. We will have summer apparel ready for you. We're trying to think of something, man, that we can do for the dads. Dad bod shirt or something. What you think, man?
I don't know. Let's see what our viewers say.
Yeah, what y'all think? What kind of gear y'all looking at?
Give us some ideas. What you would like.
What kind of gear? We do. I do got one. One of them right here. Yeah. This is the front.
Here's a t-shirt.
That's the t-shirt. Positive Man Show. And then the back. Oh, yeah. Say yes to PMS. That can go in many kind of ways, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
But for all you who don't know, the Positive Man Show. So today has been basically about your drive, what it requires for you to get from where you are now to where you want to be, what that drive looks like, what it's going to require or take for you to increase that drive.
For me, that drive, like I shared earlier in the podcast, where I'm like, hey, I'm either gonna accomplish my goal or I'm gonna pass out or die trying. It looks different. That was almost 20 years ago. Like my drive now is totally different, and it's gonna change from year to year or season to season or whatever, depending on what your goal is. So it's gonna look different. Don't get discouraged. Stay encouraged, and that you got people around that's cheering you on, even when you think you don't.
Stick to your purpose, stay in the seat of your purpose, and pedal to the metal. I'm Dr. Coffee Cup Chat.
And I'm Black Hawk.
And thank you for joining us for the Positive Man Show.
We hope you came strong.
And leave stronger.
And don't forget to spread your wings.
And enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, stay positive, people.